funny, like, probably could have recorded that conversation we were having.
I know, yeah.
I know, it's funny.
It's
like,
good stuff, hey?
Yeah, the amount of times I've chatted to people, and I've learned to just like let it go, where
Yeah.
I've obviously done quite a few of these with friends.
Yeah.
And you end up having conversations before you record it that you're like, I wish I'd actually recorded that.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to,
Yeah.
so it's therefore hard not to have like inauthentic conversations with people. Because at first, I remember the first couple of times when I was had a little bit less experience with doing this, I was like, oh, like I should really wait till like...
You feel like you're wasting the conversation?
Yeah,
like
but then it's like, but then it's also fake. Like then it's kind of like my like friendship with you then becomes like, what does it then become this weird like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like this weird kind of transaction where like I only want to talk to you about meaningful stuff if I'm recording it. Like then it's kind of weird and it's not.
I feel like that's part of just like creative outlets in general. Yeah. Like I do a little bit of photography.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, a little bit. And it's like,
I think you told me that,
whenever I bring the camera, it's like nothing really good to shoot. But then like I go for a walk without the camera. I'm like, oh, fuck, I wish I brought my camera. Yeah. This is amazing.
I was helping a friend who he's a full-time photographer, and we were doing some stuff in Banff. Like he was doing a photo shoot thing with like a running sock company. So he was just getting me to like run around town and do various things. But like there was a couple of things where like he wanted me to, so he was trying to get a shot of me like jumping over him. Yeah. But he was lying on the ground. Yeah. And but it was kind of hard because I was like, I kind of need to like just practice the motion of it just to like without the camera, even though there was no pressure. Like weirdly having the camera there was kind of like a bit of pressure. So I was like, I just kind of want to do it without the camera. And he didn't say this, but I understand that this is what he was kind of alluding to. Was he was like, yeah, but see the time you do that, that's when it'll be perfect, and that's when. So then I was just like, right, cool, yeah, let's just like do it with the thing, because if you don't have the time that you don't take your camera is the time that you'll see something and you're like, that's sweet.
I think it's something about just being relaxed.
Yeah.
Like when you're relaxed, like things work out better. You're more creative. Yeah. You got space for things to happen.
And do you think, is the photography like, obviously because the nature of your work, is that like your kind of like relaxing creative outlet, or is it more just something you...
I think it's just something I got. I don't know how I got into it, to be honest, but...
Yeah, how did you?
I don't know. Oh. Like... I think probably just through my phone initially, right? Like you always have a camera with you. You see something nice, you're like, "Oh, let me take a picture of this." And then eventually, I'm like, "I should get a camera." Yeah, yeah.
What camera have you got again?
Started off with like a film camera.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work and it's expensive. So then I got a digital camera. It's like a Ricoh. I think I was telling you about this.
Yeah, I think you were telling me this because I remember I was thinking about buying a camera.
Yeah. The Ricoh.
Yeah, I was thinking about buying a camera, and then I was like, what did Shak have? Because it was like a Sony, I thought it was like a Sony Z something.
No, just a Ricoh. I can show it to you. It's over there.
Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, definitely.
It's nice. It's fun though.
Yeah, no, it is. Like even this, like is like really cool. Like, and because I'm obviously not doing it with this one, but I have now started incorporating like another camera element into it. So it's like quite cool to it's just like there's kind of like constant like little things you can like change in it. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely fun to have that. And I guess again with photography, like I think one thing I realized with this though as well is like you can edit. I was like, kind of thought it was like plug and play. Like you take a video, you post it, or whatever the thing may be. Like take a picture and you post it. Yeah. And then my friend who's the photographer, like once I started getting into this and realizing how much editing and stuff there's in it, I remember like messaging him and I was like, I thought this was supposed to be easy. Like I thought you just took a picture and posted it online. And he's like, nah. Yeah. You know, I guess when it's kind of more professional with your job.
Yeah. Okay, he does it professionally.
Yeah. Okay. So you could he's like most of his time, like when we were out doing the running around Banff taking pictures. Yeah. I was like, dude, this is sick. I took the day off work to help him. So I was like, this is fucking sick. Like I would normally be sitting in an office right now. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, this is the best part. It's like the majority of my job is like into the little hours of the morning, like editing. Yeah. But yeah, have you do you edit the pictures?
Not too much. Yeah, probably not. That's like the next level. Yeah. It's like maybe when I have more time and I might get into it more. Right now it's just a very like casual hobby.
Yeah. Yeah, because imagine, obviously because of the nature of your work, I can't imagine. We were kind of talking about this morning where like you can be crazy busy. Yeah. So you are, educate me a little bit here. So like right now, I know you've done the sports medicine thing, but like what kind of doctor are you right now?
Yeah. So yeah, I trained as a family doctor. Right, okay. So I'm fully family doctor.
And family doctors, does that like encompass everything?
Pretty much, yeah. You can see anything. Like you're a generalist, so anything can walk in, and like you're one of the only specialties where you don't need a referral, right? You just go see them.
Yeah.
So anything can walk through the door. So in that way, it's pretty challenging, actually. Like, whatever you can think of, any complaint, you just have to deal with it. So it gets pretty tough. But then sports medicine is my niche for sure. So I'm doing a fellowship in sports medicine now. So more specialized, focusing on MSK stuff, so musculoskeletal injuries.
And like the sports thing, is that just because you yourself are interested in sport? Is it as simple as that?
For sure. That's a big part of it for sure. Like sports played a huge role in my life, and then like I went into medicine because like I'm interested in health and how to stay healthy. And I think staying active is like the best way to stay healthy, obviously. So I just want to help people stay healthy.
Yeah. I think that's the thing as well. Like see if you don't have your health, like really, your life's like can suck.
Yeah.
Like I've kind of realized that with this chronic injury, which I've like bored you to death with over the last couple of years. But like I've actually, I mean, I'll probably give you a little bit of an update on it. So like so after everything that we were kind of chatting about, I ended up putting it into ChatGPT, which is definitely not my first go-to, but I think I told you this, but I'd had like, you know, I'd been to multiple doctors, multiple physios, multiple x-rays, multiple ultrasounds. So I'd done everything that was like to do first. And then I eventually put that all into ChatGPT, and it came out, gave me a bunch of stuff. And then it was like, is there anything else that like triggers it or whatever? I put that information in, and then it came out with this like, I was like lacking core stability. So I was saying how, it was just like lacking core stability. And I think I told you before, for this thing called the McGill Big Three. It's like 3 exercises, like bird dog, side plank, curl up, which is all about core stability. You know, I put that into it as well. It was like, is there anything that helps it? And I put that in, and I was like, yep, that even like aligns with this idea more, because that's what is helping. That would help this thing. That was maybe like a month or so ago, and dude, I've been doing, and it was like, do you want a 15-minute like daily, you know, exercise thing to do? And I was like, yeah. And and it's been significantly better.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, like I think saying that, like just having like a chronic thing for so long though, granted, obviously I'm hopefully now on top of it. Like it kind of makes you realize like how miserable you can be.
Yeah. How much it impacts you.
Yeah. Like I was kind of waking up, you know, not even necessarily that much pain, but in pain, even if it was slight or stiff. And even though I probably wasn't consciously thinking this, like I was waking up and the first thing I thought in the morning was like, I could feel the thing. Yeah. I was like, right, Phil, cool. Yeah, I've still got that thing.
That's going to impact like your mental health too, totally, right? Like how you feel about the day, your attitude, and make you more irritable.
Yeah.
Oh, it sucks.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So just helping people like that, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Like,
and is there like, I mean, this may be an obvious question, but I would imagine there's a big difference between like the family stuff and the sports, because the family stuff is, as you were saying, it's like everything, whereas the sports stuff is more, can it still be people that like aren't into sport, but it's like a sport related? No, I guess you can't have a sport related injury.
Yeah, the field's called sports medicine, so like we deal with athletes a lot, but I would say the majority of the practice is just regular people who who just want to stay active, coming in with like knee pain or back pain or whatever it might be, and a lot of it's just people living with pain and how we can help them that way.
Yeah.
Some of it's like people with chronic disease and they want to manage it through lifestyle, which can be challenging, but if they're motivated, they can actually make a huge difference, I think.
Yeah.
Because I think more and more people like want to move away from medications, which, you know, it's their choice. I think there's a role for medications, but optimizing lifestyle can be really powerful.
Yeah, I think that's like, definitely something that I would probably be like trying to sway away from at the beginning would be medicine. Not because I don't think it works, but just because I'm always like, I don't know, I think I would just be like, I'd rather try everything, exhaust everything that I could do without medicine first, and then try to use medicine.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we were kind of chatting this morning about almost like there's a degree of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a placebo effect.
Yeah.
So, and again, that book I was reading called Humankind, they were talking about that in the study where like they have, and it'd be interesting to get your opinion on this and how you actually like would kind of implement this or manage this, but it was saying how they ran studies or tests where like they gave people like a placebo surgery. So they actually like, you know, gave them this kind of like sham surgery.
Yeah.
And they found that like people had equal or greater improvements from the sham surgery as they did with people who actually had like a real surgery or no surgery whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it was all just the idea that, like, you know, kind of Alama was alluding to this morning, where like you need to almost like, and it's not a trick, but it's like, it's a legitimate thing where like people almost need to feel like you've listened to them, you've gone through the motions, you're obviously confident that the thing isn't a major issue, but they just need you to feel like you've done something.
Yeah. I can't explain placebo, but it's definitely like a known phenomenon. And it just like kind of shows you how powerful the mind is, right? Like if you buy into whatever treatment you're getting, like if you're given a sugar pill, but you're told like it actually has some sort of effect, it will have an effect.
Yeah.
Like, how's that possible? It's like, oh, how much is your psyche playing into what you're feeling, like your experience of pain or whatever it might be? It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier about like age even. Like if you constantly say like, oh, I'm getting old, you start feeling old.
Yeah.
But if you just feel young and in your mind and your heart, then like you're healthy, you feel good.
Yeah, definitely.
To a degree, of course, right? But
yeah, I mean, like you also talk about people who have like, who are like really religious, who have like some terminal illness, and then they fucking believe that God's going to get them through it.
Yeah,
like, you know, I know it doesn't happen every time, but like there's a thought that if you believe in something enough, like it can help. Like I remember this a kind of sad story, but there was a guy that I worked with whose mum passed away, and his mum passed away, and then I was at his funeral with him, I was at his mother's funeral, obviously, and then his dad was there. And his dad, like, wasn't a healthy guy, like, at all.
Yeah.
But anyway, we went to the funeral, you know, I was kind of like seeing this, like, really sad family, and then exactly a week later, his dad died.
Wow.
Exactly. His dad didn't have any nothing like pre-conditions, no nothing, he died, and I genuinely believe it was because he just gave up, because his wife was gone. He was just like, he just was like overcome by it and just died. But I remember it was kind of honestly crazy.
Yeah.
But again, it kind of into that whole philosophy of he had his wife that, you know, he was living with her, and like, you know, and then as soon as that was gone, he just kind of, it just seemed that he had given up, and he himself passed away. It was kind of crazy to watch.
Just like anecdotally, I feel like I've seen that quite a bit where like a husband or a wife passes away, and within a year or two, the other partner just passes away. Like we do know like social connection is so important, right? It's like one of the pillars of longevity.
Yeah. There's a study, maybe what you were chatting about there. There's like the world's longest, like, is it like a longitudinal study or something about happiness?
Yeah.
It's like in New York or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
And they studied generations, and exactly what you said, like the one thing that everyone who's had a long and happy life, the one thing that they all share in common was they had community. They had like connections.
Yeah. So important.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I was chatting about this with a friend the other day. I think like sometimes I definitely struggle with like, I'm someone who's comfortable by themselves.
Yeah.
I can spend a week, not every weekend, but if I had the odd weekend where I was like completely by myself, like, you know, maybe like training or reading a book I'd be like content.
So knowing those studies, does that ever worry you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like I'm way too comfortable on my own.
Yeah.
And maybe I mean, you've obviously moved abroad as well. I know, moved,
across country.
Thank you, with Lama.
Yeah.
So you've kind of also had a degree of separation from like your family and your original life. But I think like traveling around, like especially by myself up until I met Cass, like I've kind of been accustomed to, you know, kind of like meeting people, having really good connections, but then ultimately moving on. Like Cass always like then gets upset because when we like, obviously we're doing long distance just now, so we'll like catch up. I'll go see her, she'll come see me, and then like we'll leave, and she's like total like really, like crying and stuff, and I'm not, but it's not because I don't care, but I think it's honestly because I'm just so used to like having for the last like, you know, 7-8 years of my life, like meeting people and moving, and you kind of just become a bit accustomed to it. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely think I'm wary of like how comfortable I am on my own.
No, that's fair, man.
Yeah.
I think like when I used to live in London, like I had a much bigger community there, and I think I took it for granted a little bit, because you feel like, oh, I could be alone more. And then moving out here, definitely have more time alone, and I feel like I'm more accustomed to it than like Lama is. But definitely still feel like, oh, I miss my community from time to time, especially like when holidays come around.
Yeah, every time. Yeah,
long weekend. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think about that too. Like, oh, is this like the unhealthiest part of my life? because I feel like I try to live a very healthy life in general, eat clean, exercise, but then it's like community. It's like, oh, am I neglecting that area a little bit?
Yeah, and it's funny because you are like a doctor as well. Like, like last time I think we caught up in Banff, I was like, so what supplements do you take? And like, I was like, I don't know why I was expecting you to be like, well, I take like blah, 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 blah. And you kind of just were like creatine, that liquid IV stuff.
Yeah.
But I kind of come away from that. I was like, oh, I thought I was going to get some like secret insight into like, have you seen that guy? I don't know. He's like this guy, Brian something, but he's like super rich, and he's like trying to like prolong his life. He does all these mad things.
Did see that, yeah.
Yeah, but have you seen like his day-to-day life is purely that thing. Like he's purely trying to like live longer. So like it's not like he's like just like a regular guy who's like just does a couple of things.
Yeah.
It's like his whole life is like trying to live longer, and it's like it's that much a life though when you're just
he's like completely giving himself up to his algorithm that he believes in that'll like extend his life. I think like from an outsider point of view, I think it's a cool experiment. Like,
definitely.
I'm curious to see what happens. I'm invested for sure.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah, I remember like when I used to work for my dad, my dad at this point was 60, and there was another man, Jock, that was 60 as well. But Jock looked like my father's father.
Wow.
Just in age, like they were like night and day with regards to how they looked.
Yeah.
And they were the same age. And I remember just being like, it was such a visual example of like how two different people with two different lifestyles can look. And, you know, Jock's now passed away. Like he also smoked his whole life, but he's, you know, passed away like in the last like 5 years or so.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of like, but that guy obviously using his life as a bit of an experiment to like see how long you can live. But
he seems happy.
Yeah.
Which I can kind of understand. Like I feel like I am happiest when I stick to my routine.
Yeah. Well, so what if you can create like a perfect, maybe say like a perfect week, because I feel like a day's pretty, like what would be like a perfect week
for me? Personally?
Yeah. Or maybe a day. Let's take a day.
Let's take a day.
A week's kind of like
weekday or workday. Let's say weekend.
Weekend. Yeah.
Okay. So I'd wake up probably around like 7 a.m.
Oh, okay, sweet.
Yeah, I have a coffee every morning.
Are you like alarm at 7 a.m.?
No, I just wake up naturally usually. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Weekday I'll have an alarm, but weekend no alarm. But I tend to wake up, make a coffee, just chill with Lama, drink our coffees, have a conversation, probably go for a walk. Go for a long walk, come home, eat some food, work out, probably train Muay Thai, which will be fun. Come back, lunch. After that, got a lot of time in the day.
Yeah, no, I know.
Because without work, it's like, oh, what do I do? Like typically weekends, that's when I do my chores, right?
Yeah.
Catch up on the week. But if I had just free time, I don't probably read.
What would you read?
What would I read?
Are you more like fiction or non-fiction?
More non-fiction.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
I always get confused between the title. Like non-fiction is like real stuff, whereas fiction, that always, for whatever reason, found that really hard to grasp. I would always think like non-fiction should be like not real.
Yes.
Like bad. Yeah, sorry.
That confused me. Yeah. No, I definitely like stories, but I don't know. I haven't read any fiction recently that's like gripped me. So it's usually non-fiction, like history. I like reading history quite a bit. I think I was telling you I was reading that Silk Roads book. Yeah. Pretty interesting. But then back to the day, I guess. I don't know, man.
I know, it's kind of like once you like break it down, you actually have a lot of time. Yeah. Especially if it's a day off.
Yeah. Because if it's work, it's like it's so structured, right? I wake up, I go to work, I come home, have dinner, work out, go for a walk with Lama, and then like the day's over, really. Yeah. Maybe do one thing, and which is like it's kind of sad, I guess. But
no, I mean that's what you enjoy. Yeah. I mean, I would do less than that, and have like a Saturday for me could be like wake up, you know, like probably have like food like a couple hours later, like go to the gym. In that couple hours, I'm probably like, you know, doing the house stuff. Yeah. Go to the gym for like a couple hours if I'm like doing like steam room and all that stuff. Come home, probably like read my book. And then, same as you. Unless I have plans on the Saturday to do something, I probably could then just from like 3 o'clock onwards, just be kind of chilling.
Just do whatever, yeah.
And I think you may be the same as me where you're like, not all the time, but I certainly like to be more active than sitting around, and that's kind of where like this maybe grew out of, because then I kind of constantly was like, I feel like I should be doing it. It wasn't like I feel like I should be, I was like I wanted to do something to fill that time. Like I was saying to a friend, during the week, how like almost like boredom is like, I realized that boredom can almost like fuel like a positive outcome, in the sense of like, we're so used to like just distracting ourselves with our phones. As I was saying to you the other day, I did it for like 3 hours after work one day. But like, like you can kind of use that boredom to be like, right, I've got now like X amount of hours in the afternoon left. Like, what should I do? And that's maybe where like photography or Muay Thai or whatever.
So the thing I find about those creative outlets is like you do need time. Like when I'm stuck in when work gets really busy, like I put it down a little bit just because I feel like I can't put all my effort into a creative like project right now.
Yeah.
I need more time. I don't know if that's just an excuse or not, but
I mean, probably like a little bit of both, really.
Yeah.
Like I definitely, And like with your, so like obviously like looking at from the outside of someone who's not a doctor looking in, like is it as chaotic, not chaotic, is it as like intense and all the time, or like all consuming as it appears to be?
Yeah. It can be for sure. Like during residency, there's times where it's really busy.
Yeah.
I think I try not to use it as an excuse as often as I do. Like, I think it's really easy as a doctor because people expect me to be super busy, to be like, oh yeah, I don't have time. But like, I mean, I do. Like, especially in this sports medicine, it's a lot chiller, like 9 to 5 typically. You might have to do a couple hours of paperwork, but it's honestly not that bad.
Have you got like all the like PhD ... in your email address?
No, I try not to do that.
Oh, man, yeah.
I don't have a signature at all. I just put Shak.
See, that's sweet.
Yeah.
I kind of like, not that it would have made a difference, but honestly, I'm kind of glad you do that, because see, when we get emails, so I work in tourism, and we'll get bookings from people coming to do a tour.
Yeah.
And like, sometimes they'll have like, so we just have people put in their like first name and last name, and people will put in like doctor,
their credentials.
And like the whole, and it's not just like, whatever like the shortest one might be, like PhD, whatever.
Yeah.
They'll put in like the full like alphabet of like what they have.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you're signing up for fucking lifetime into it. Like, I don't need to know that you're like a extensive. I mean, fair play to them. They've done all that stuff. Fair enough. But it seems sometimes I'm like, it seems like a bit of an ego stroke.
A little extra. Yeah. No, I'll stick to just my first name for now.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe that'll change, but.
Yeah, maybe like in a year's time, you'll be like, ... fucking blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I can see people trying to seem more professional. Like, I don't think my emails look the most professional for sure. I almost treat it like a text message. But
I think there's almost like a degree. I wonder like if people, I guess there's people who would appreciate that and people who don't. Like, I think I would certainly appreciate more of like an informal, like, this is a real person. We're kind of like, I can connect with them better than someone who puts all the letters in their signature. Whereas some people might be the opposite. Like, I would assume that my mum might be the opposite. She would probably rather have that more professional, like, I am a doctor, and like...
Yeah. There might be a bit of a generational difference too.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially when I'm talking to like potential places I want to work. I wonder if I should have a more professional appearance, just so they think like I am a professional, right? So they want to know that they're dealing with a professional as opposed to just a very laid back kind of email. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember I got a job, like I got like a professional. I was a project coordinator for this construction company.
Yeah.
And I got the job, and I was chatting with the director. I say chatting. The director pulled me in his office to meet me because I like was new, and he would say hi. And he was like, so do people call you Ricky? My name's Richard, obviously. But he was like, do people call you Ricky? And I was like, no. I obviously said it more like politely, and I was like, no, not really.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, just because I saw your email address.
Yeah.
And I had like, up until that point, my email address was Ricky X Martin.
Yeah.
Just because it was, I was kind of young and I'd never thought to change it. And I remember when he said that, I was like, I should change this email address.
Get it more professional. Yeah.
Because I was like, oh my God, I didn't think that the director of, and it was a pretty big company. Like, it wasn't like small fry.
Yeah.
And I was like, I never thought that the director of this company would see my email address.
Yeah.
So I changed it like to like Richard GT Martin, but
that's what it would take for me.
Yeah.
Until I start feeling like it's impacting my career, I think I'll just stick to how I'm doing it.
And like being like, so I was kind of saying to you earlier, like with some of the people that were at your birthday party last night, like, I was kind of looking at them, and they're all our age, and we're all, maybe we're dressed a bit smarter than I am right now, but still like, very casual attire and like young. And I was like, kind of like crazy that like these guys are doctors. Like when you're obviously at work, do you ever have like an issue with like older people being like, this guy's like, what is this guy? No, he's younger than me.
Yeah, I get comments sometimes like, you seem pretty young for a doctor. Like,
really?
Or like asking me how old I am. That happens from time to time. But I think like
I mean, you do look young even for your age, though.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, no, but you do, yeah.
Yeah.
So like, yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So people ask me that all the time, but then I think once they start talking and like I'm giving them, like I clearly seem like I know what I'm talking about, they kind of relax a little bit. They're like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. He went to school. Or I just tell them how long I've been in school for, and they're like, okay.
Yeah, that's true. Like my whole life, effectively.
Yeah.
I guess I wonder if it's kind of the same where there's almost like a prejudice sometimes of like if you go on a plane and it's like an old white guy, you're like, oh, well, that's what a pilot's supposed to look like.
Yes,
you know? Whereas obviously now that's definitely changing. But yeah, there's something weirdly, I mean, I'm obviously speaking for myself here, but if you hear like a kind of older guy of whatever background, like over the comm on the plane, like rightly or wrongly, that sometimes makes me, I'm like, oh sweet, yeah, this is what it should be, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yep.
And obviously there's like incredible like female pilots and stuff like that, but I think it's kind of getting out of that kind of like upbringing of like you I think maybe also because we're just getting older as well, where like I look at, you assume that like someone should be older than you telling you like all the information, whereas we're now at those ages where like you are the professional, like, you are the qualified person being like, stop smoking. And like, but
I do acknowledge though, like in medicine, like there's no substitute for experience. Like I think you just get better with age. So like I will tell patients like, I've never seen this before. I'll like look things up for you. I think being transparent with them is important because then they trust you more as opposed to if you just pretend like you know what you're talking about. But even just like the male female thing, like I talked to Lama, she's obviously a family doctor. And she finds sometimes, especially with like older male patients, that she doesn't feel like she has authority with them. And they don't really take her seriously as much. So it's not something I've dealt with, but she's expressed that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I even get that in my work sometimes. Like we, so again, working in tourism, we do some driving tours and we hire like seasonal staff for the summer because it's just busier. And I remember there was a guy who was older than me, and I just, when I was giving the training and going through everything, I could just tell that he was like kind of being like dismissive and a bit like was very obviously like, this guy's like, at that point I would have been 30, 31. But I could tell he was still like, kind of being a bit like, oh, this kid's training me. You know? So I don't even know if it's necessarily like just a female thing. Like I definitely like kind of sometimes I have that like imposter syndrome. Like we're at that time of year just now, and you're going to be training a bunch of people probably like next week or the week after, and I have to almost like get comfortable with like being like, right, yeah, like most of these people are actually older than me, and I'm going to have to be like telling them what to do and stuff like that. Obviously, not like you do this now, like approach it a better way than that. But yeah, it's weird when you get to that age where like you're kind of in between. You know,
I think that'll hit me a lot in a few months when I start practicing independently. Like being a resident, there's always somebody supervising me technically, right? They might not be in the room with me, but I know like every decision I make, they're kind of looking over my shoulder a little bit. But in a few months, it's just me, and I think it's going to hit me like, oh shit, like what am I doing here?
And is that like a comfort thing, like knowing that there's someone looking over your shoulder?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like anytime I'm a little bit hesitant about what to do, I know I can run back and ask my preceptor like, oh, what would you do in this situation? And I try not to use it because I know in a few months I'm going to be by myself, but it's hard to like get rid of that completely. Like if the safety net's there, you're going to use it.
Yeah, definitely.
You just kind of rip it off and jump into the real world. I'm excited for it, but definitely scary too.
Yeah, like even when Lama was talking this morning about, you know, she was just giving an example of like talk, and I think she was giving an example about how like this patient, this woman had been in, and she was like, no, it's this, and she was like, no, like I had to like, you know, trust myself to like diagnose her and like find it out. And then she obviously said that like she, like Lama herself was correct and she hadn't listened to this person. But when she was telling me that, I was like it truly is. I joke with people who don't work in health, like about life and death. Like people would be like, oh, how was my day? And I'm like, just saving lives, bro. Very off the cuff. But I was like, when Lama was talking, I was like, wow, like, I was like, that actually is like, I mean, that was stressed me out. You know, like, it may not necessarily be life and death, but it's health related stuff. Sure. Like, you know, I get what you were just saying there. We're like, right now you kind of got a safety net, this person behind you, whereas like, you kind of take that off, and that's a lot of pressure. I'd imagine.
And you have to be ready for it, right? Because you might see 99 patients and it's just run-of-the-mill stuff, nothing like life or death.
Yeah.
It's very easy. And then the 100th patient might come in with something serious, and you have to be able to recognize that. So it can be scary, right? Like you have to always be ready for it.
Well, I was kind of thinking this when I was swimming in the pool yesterday. Like, there's a couple of lifeguards there, and I was like, fucking, like, I've swam there for ages, and I was like, nothing's ever happened.
Yeah.
But so there was this is kind of random, but did you, on a tangent here, but did you watch the Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn fight?
No.
Okay, right. It was this boxing fight in the UK, but Chris Eubank Jr., his brother died like a couple of years ago. But he just had a heart attack, and he was
out while fighting.
No, and like he was in the water.
Oh shit!
So he was like in Dubai in the water, and he had a heart attack while in the water though, and died because he just drowned.
Damn.
He didn't just drown, but he drowned.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, that popped into my head while I was swimming, and I was kind of looking at lifeguards, and I thought to what you're saying, which I was like, I've swum here for months and months and months, nothing ever happens, but like
are they
it must
ready?
be weird to then, because I guess in a lifeguard situation, it was kind of be a similar thing where if you have to get involved, usually someone's like drowning or something. Like it must be hard to go from like being bored out of your mind watching people swim to then like saving someone from drowning. Yeah. Like to have that switch and be on it.
You have to be ready all the time. Yeah. That's its own skill set, I think.
Yeah.
It's like how much are you training on your downtime?
And how do you do you have like a way of managing like that? What I would assume is the pressure of like that kind of role.
I think to deal with the pressure or to just be prepared?
Deal with the pressure.
Deal with the pressure. To be honest, like I think it gets normalized. Like obviously Lemma's in the same field, so we talk about it a lot and we debrief about like our tougher cases, which helps a lot. Like it's nice having that at home, like somebody who understands that that job. So that's really nice. And I think just taking time for yourself, right? Like how anybody else would deal with stress, it's no different. Like Muay Thai, honestly, like is a huge stress relief for me. It's like go in, you don't think about work, right? It's one of the few times like in the day, like I'm really not thinking about work at all. I'm like fully present. I feel like that's so important for me, like having something where I can completely disconnect. So like, debriefing with Nama and then, or just anybody that understands the situation you're in, and then like activities where you can fully get out of that situation. Because I think medicine is one of those careers where it can become so all encompassing that you can get fully lost, and then your whole life becomes medicine. Like a lot of my friends are in medicine, so it's easy to just be in that bubble. But I think it's important to like disconnect from time to time because it is a lot.
Oh man, definitely. I always say like I couldn't be a doctor because and this is probably more because of me and my as a person and my personality and my mindset. But like I just think I couldn't. I guess if I had to have done it for whatever reason, probably the same as you, where you get normalized by it. And what I would like, obviously, if I was to go from me now to being a doctor, the pressure would be intense because I haven't had that acclimatization.
That's the thing; it's gradual, right?
Yeah. You kind of get like desensitized a little bit. Like you were saying last night about like surgery. Like the first time you see surgery, you're like cutting someone open, and then you do it enough, and you're just like, sweet, there's a bone, there's this, there's that.
Like I remember the first day you go into the anatomy lab and there's like cadavers. And it's kind of freaky. But then like maybe third or fourth time you're in there, like you kind of forget what you're even dealing with. And you have to like remind yourself like, oh, this was a person. And
will they have like full like, this is a really dumb question, but will they have like just a human body there?
Yeah.
Damn, that is
full body.
Like, so and like, I would assume those people are people who like in their lives, they just like ticked a box to donate their life to,
donated their body.
That's kind of crazy.
Which is like, immense amount of respect for them. And like the med school that I went to, like held a ceremony at the end of the year.
Oh, did they?
Where they invited all the families for the people who donated their bodies. It was a beautiful thing because it is like a huge like enriching experience for the students. Like being able in a safe, controlled environment to like study anatomy, what tissues look like, what they feel like. That was a really cool experience.
Yeah, that's kind of, I never really thought about that. And like, like seeing like being in that scenario and seeing people who are obviously have passed away and are kind of like I guess like without like being too mean about it, like kind of are like just objects for you to like use and stuff. Has that like changed your like view on like life at all? Like when you see like living people, you're like, oh, I could be cutting you up.
No.
Way, but
yeah, that's interesting. I don't think so. No.
Like, are you religious at all?
A little bit. Like I grew up quite religious.
Yeah.
I don't like follow organized religion as much, but I'm definitely still like spiritual. So I think about that a lot. I think that helps me in medicine, especially. Like, it puts a lot of meaning into the work, right? Like, you're dealing with people's lives, and I think believing in like higher power or God, it helps with that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm like, the reason I'm asking that is because I'm wondering if you were to become so accustomed to seeing human bodies and just using them as like, obviously this is in the like the research area, not like live people, but seeing them as kind of like objects to be like cut up and stuff like that. Like, I just wonder if over time you would eventually become like, well, it actually is like a human life if it's. If it's this, but then I guess if you're spiritual, you have more of like a deeper meaning to just like the physical body. It's not just that. It's more like more this other stuff. But yeah.
I mean, for me personally, whenever I was in the cadaver labs, like whenever I caught myself taking it for granted, I would kind of take a step back and just like look at the body. I'm like, oh yeah, this was a person. Like they had a family. Like now they're just here. Like you have to treat it with respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy how like way back in the day, the people would just like, before it became like, maybe before they did it like the right way, like people would just be like grave robbers and just like dig people up and then take them to the hospitals and then just, I think there's like a really famous, there's someone, I was reading in the book the other day about someone who's like, really famous. So this is pretty morbid, but the guy who, you know, there's that during the Holocaust, there was like a Nazi doctor who was like one of the concentration camps. I think he's something Mengele or Meng. But he was like the doctor of death, and he was like that famous Nazi doctor who would like get, he did like a bunch of tests on people like prisoner, like war camps, but he would get like twins and he'd do one thing to one and see if it affected the other and all this stuff. And for whatever reason, I was reading that I was reading about him because I think he was in that book I was reading. And anyway, but they found his body in Argentina and they exhumed it, and his family wanted it sent back to Germany, but it got sent to like the Argentina like University of like medicine, and they have it as like just a regular anatomy specimen in their university.
Wow.
And I was like, that's mad. Like how this like one of the most evil people in like kind of modern history is just like, you know, going into this like anatomy lab as
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I know that's kind of a bit of a random tangent there, but it just kind of made
it's an interesting story though.
Yeah, no, it's just like, you know, and I think also with medicine, like there's so many, during that period of time, there's so many benefits that we have now that ultimately kind of came from like these incredibly evil you know, people, and, you know, they were like, you know, finding out about how human structure worked ultimately for like evil means, but, you know, kind of in a sad twist of fate, it's actually like benefited us down the road.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Like a lot of discoveries came from maybe not the most ideal.
Yeah, like even technology, I think I don't know if most, but I think like a lot of technology comes from like wars.
Yeah.
Something happens in a war, and then they kind of like, I don't know, I'm making something up now, but like something on the iPhone is like actually like drones.
Yeah.
Maybe we were like utilized for war, and now like photographers use them for like, you know, like getting sick pictures.
I guess so much money gets invested into war and technologies around war, and eventually it trickles down into the market, right? The public market.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point.
And do you like see with like medicine and stuff like that? Is there any issues with like funding and stuff like that, or is it not? Is it pretty sweet?
In terms of like research?
Yeah. Because I feel like there's certain things like cancer obviously has like a
lot of research,
research, and then there's like other kind of like more niche things that.
I'm sure there is. Like I'm not super involved in research myself. I know like almost every researcher, like getting grants is a big part of their career, like writing proposals for grants. But I actually don't know like if it's a huge struggle or not.
But you were saying, so like going into sports medicine, we were kind of like, we obviously both enjoy like watching like the UFC and Muay Thai and stuff like that. Like you were saying about potentially like trying to get like be like a doctor at one of those events.
That'd be sweet. Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
I think it'd be really hard though, like knowing that you like it, and I know you're professional, so this wouldn't happen. But like it'd be hard not to just get like caught up and they're like, fuck him up.
Yeah. Like, you got to keep that internal.
Yeah.
I mean, you get sweet seats, right? You're like right ringside.
What do you actually know the process of trying to get into that role?
I don't. I think it's like, I don't know the formal process, but I know it's a lot of word of mouth. Like if you know people who are already involved in it, that's probably your best bet. Like the way I'm doing it right now is I just reach out to docs who are covering combat sports, and I say, hey, like if you ever need an extra hand, like I'm happy to help.
And have you done any like amateur
done a few
stuff?
like amateur stuff. It's been fun. Like again, you sit right ringside and like you do enjoy it, but then you got to remember you're on the job. Thankfully nothing like catastrophic has happened while I've been doing it, but it's a great time, and like I don't know, makes the sport safer too, right? Like just having us there and the paramedics there, it's nice.
Have you ever heard of again, this sounds like a tangent, but I'll bring it back. Have you ever heard of the Isle of Man TT?
The what?
Isle of Man TT.
No.
So it's this really famous sports superbike race in this Isle of Man. So the Isle of Man is an island between Ireland and the UK. It's a tiny little island, but it's like a tiny little like really quiet, quaint island. But they have like what is called the Isle of Man TT, which is this like super bike race on it, where these guys are going like 200 miles an hour.
It's like dirt bikes, motorbikes,
like motorbikes, motorbikes.
Okay.
And it's unreal to see, like it's mind-boggling. Like imagine like the countryside of any UK place, you know, like winding roads, like fields, like fucking like brick walls and stuff like that. And then these guys are going through at like 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, one wrong move and you're done.
Well, yeah, so that's what I was going to get to. So I'm kind of oversimplifying this a bit, but I do believe, and I can't check it because my phone's there, but I believe that like at least every year, 1 or 2 people die.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
So I was watching a thing. The reason it was in my mind is because I was watching a video on it like maybe a couple of nights ago, and I think this video was like 7 years old. And at that point in time, there had been over like 200 deaths. And I was thinking, because obviously we're into like the UFC Muay Thai. I was like, imagine the UFC, right? Or imagine anything, but imagine, let's take the UFC. Imagine the UFC every year had a big, like, I know they have cards all the time, but they had one big card, you know, the UFC summer card.
Yeah.
And every year, at least 1 or 2 people died on that card.
Yeah.
Every year, like guaranteed, like you can Google it, like I did, like how mental that would be. Like doing this thing that like every year, at least someone dies.
Yeah.
Surely you'd be like,
I mean, in Alberta, I think the stat is like in the last 2 or 3 years, there's been 2 deaths associated with combat sports.
Oh, is there? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty tragic.
Yeah.
But I think that's just more of a reason for why like docs need to be there and be trained on how to make that that sport safer.
I mean, yeah.
Like it is inherently a dangerous game, right? It's sad when people die, but it's part of the risk of the sport, I guess. Like I think a lot of people get benefit. The combat sports in medicine gets a really bad rep, I think, because like you're trying to cause damage ultimately, right? But like you probably know this firsthand. I feel like I know it firsthand just training in it. So many people get benefit from training combat sports. It can like change their life for the better. So it's that balance of like, how do we maximize the pros of the sport while trying to keep it as safe as possible? I don't know the answer to that, but like I love the sport. I'll always kind of vouch for it in that way.
Yeah. I think I was kind of thought about that even like personally with regards to like sparring. Like there's been a couple of times in sparring where you zig and someone zags and, you know, they catch you and, you know, it's just an accident. But sometimes I'm like, because I'm not someone who's ever probably going to fight.
Yeah.
I haven't actually been, because of this whole back thing, I actually haven't been for like a year or so. But, you know, when I was doing it, I was like, yeah, I did think that. I was like, I know, as I say, only happened like 2 or 3 times, but I'd be like, what? Like, should I be doing this sparring if I'm getting like, kind of like taking like big hits?
Yeah.
You know, like what is the cost analysis benefit of it?
Yeah.
You know, because obviously there is, because I want to like, I mean, sparring's like ultimately the funnest part about it, because you're getting to put into action what you're learning.
Yep. It's like the test, right?
Yeah. But then it's like, I'm 31, like, I'm not going to be a fighter. Like, do I need to be taking like this unnecessary CT? And also maybe as a bit of an excuse as well, because I'm like, you know, it is hard.
Yeah. I mean, it is a real concern for sure.
Yeah.
Like when you're in there too, if you're thinking about that, that's going to throw you off your game too, right? It's kind of the advantage of being younger. Like you don't think about your own mortality and getting injured, so you're just fully present. You can be looser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely resonate when you said about like, you know, I've done a bunch of sports, but I think Muay Thai is the one that you really can't think of anything else, because, you know, it's when you're drilling, you usually think of like a combination. So you're like, or like your movement or whatever, like, because even with like swimming or running or cycling or whatever I've done before, you can kind of, once you get good at it, you can kind of daydream.
Yeah.
You know, which is sometimes is a good thing about it. Like you get a runner's high.
Yeah. Do you feel like you get creative when you run or swim, whatever?
I don't know if I get creative, but I definitely get clarity.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like I definitely have moments where I'm like, I've been thinking about something, and then I'll, just like through the endurance of like the run or the swim, like it'll kind of like crystallize in my mind.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't necessarily say creative, no. Sometimes I use it as a time to really like go through the day and be like, I don't know, like swimming, like I'll diet, like the other day I was like dialing in like my nutrition. I just like, while I was swimming, I was like, okay, I should probably like do this and do that.
Yeah.
Whereas going back to the Muay Thai, like you don't really have that time.
No.
Yeah, you don't really have
You're
that
fully
time.
in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that would be sweet if you could actually get into I would definitely be like, dude, can you hit me
get some tickets?
But yeah, it would seem like one of those things where it's probably word of mouth. Cause yeah, I mean, the UFC, sorry, specifically. I mean, I know there's like Bellator and other ones.
Yeah.
But like, it's the creme de la creme, you know, like there's probably so many guys like us, you specifically being a doctor, who want to get hooked up on that.
Yeah.
And I notice when you watch the UFC, you kind of do see the same people all the time.
Yeah.
Like even like the security guys.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw this guy like every UFC card.
Yeah. I don't know how it works for like all those other positions, but I know for the doctor, if they're coming to your city, you're kind of known as the guy for whatever sport it is, and they'll reach out to you. Yeah. But that's the thing about UFC. It doesn't come to Alberta very often.
No.
I guess they just had one.
Oh, they had Edmonton.
They had Edmonton. It wasn't like a pay-per-view fight. It was like one of the fight nights, but that would still be cool.
Yeah.
But they had a big one in Montreal, like just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, the Bilal one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you watch it?
No, I was on a flight. Yeah.
I think, I only watched the very last one. I think they were saying that Bilal, I'm kind of regurgitating what everyone has said, but like Bilal almost like switched up his like really dominant style to like be more like fan friendly and like be more of a striking fight, and ultimately lost it because
he wanted to put a good show on.
That his head movement was like,
yeah,
it was amazing to watch.
Damn.
Yeah.
It would have been, I think the place would have erupted if Bilal won.
Yeah.
Because he has a lot of like fans of his in Montreal.
Oh, does he? Yeah. Yeah. I honestly kind of felt sorry for him, because even before the fight, I was like, he's not that like
not the most exciting fighter.
He's not. But then as soon as he lost, I almost like, even though I was one of these people where I was like, I'd rather this other guy won, I was like, God, that must suck so much. Like he's an amazing fighter. I bet he's like a really nice guy.
Yeah.
But just because he doesn't have the flash.
Yeah.
Of like chatting shit and stuff like that, like people don't like him, and I'm like, that must be brutal.
I know.
You know, like just.
I mean, he's like clearly like one of the best practitioners of what he does, but then he just gets like the casual fan saying, "Oh, he's boring to watch."
Yeah.
I guess like Floyd kind of dealt with the same issue, right? He was like a defensive boxer, so like the casual fan is like, "Oh, he's kind of boring to watch." Yeah. But like if you were a boxing fanatic, you'd be like, "Oh, this guy's surgical. Like, he can't be touched."
I used to be like that. Like I was that very much a casual fan, like maybe like 10 years or so ago, where like, if I was watching like Khabib or someone who's more of a wrestler, like just wrestle someone, I'd be like, oh, this is so boring. Whereas now I'm definitely like, oh, this is like, I'm more of a true fan. So I like appreciate the nuances. Like sometimes you're watching it and people are like booing.
Yeah.
You're like, how the fuck are you booing this? This is like an unreal fight. But you just kind of want to see like blood and
the strikes, the glory.
I know.
Yeah.
So with like the sports medicine that you're doing, like is that so you were kind of saying that could be anything really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like we see a lot of like older people who are active, live active lives, and they want to keep living that way, but they get they get an injury, right? As you get older, you're just going to get injured. So
I think
that's a big part of the practice.
Yeah, I think like with my kind of chronic thing that I've hopefully got on top of now, but like there was a point in time where I was like kind of looking into it, and it was like because I was thinking maybe this won't go away. Maybe I have done something that is like, I now have this thing.
Yeah.
And I was like read something or chatted to someone about it, and they're like, yeah, you kind of need to almost like dial in like how good do you need to be really for you? Like what kind of life do you want? Do you want to just be comfortable getting around? Do you want to be like an elite performing athlete? Or do you want to be like someone who can go around and you're kind of sore? But and obviously I would be like, I'd rather have no injury whatsoever. But like with like dealing with like people coming in to like your work, do you have to kind of manage their
expectations?
Like people come to you and they're like, I don't actually really care. I just want to like have a good night's sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think like longevity is kind of a hot topic right now, and like that concept of health span versus lifespan. So like you might live till 80, but if the last 10 years of your life, like you're not mobile, you have a low quality of life, is that how you want to spend the last decade of your life, right? So I think more and more people want to be mobile first and foremost. I think living with some degree of pain is almost inevitable when you get older, unfortunately. But that's like a big part of our role. Like we see people with arthritis who come to us fairly regularly just for some pain relief, and they do pretty well. I think in general, like the more active you are, like the better you'll do.
Yeah, it's also ironic though that like usually the more active they are, the more prone you are to having an injury.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're playing sports, you're going to get injured, right?
Yeah.
But is that a reason to not
do it?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I was listening to that Chris Williamson podcast, and he was talking about, what was he talking about? He was talking about someone being like an elite performer, and he's like, he just said exactly what I said though, because I'm kind of saying what he said, which was, it's ironic that the people, your friends who do nothing and lie around, like rarely have any injuries, but the ones who are like out there, like pushing their bodies to like the extremes, they'll like, like hurt their backs, their knees, their elbows, it's, kind of unfortunate that the ones that are actually trying to do the thing are the ones that are getting hurt. But I guess it's just a case of, it's like a case of, you're putting yourself in more situations in which you can get injured.
Yeah. Like if you never leave your house, you're not going to get injured, but it's kind of a risk-benefit analysis to that point, right? Does that mean never play any sport?
Yeah.
There's clearly benefit that comes out of it too. Yeah.
And like I'm just kind of alluding to it this morning, where it's like, it's hard for you to not put your own like outlook on life onto like the patient, i.e. like you think you should like give them all this information and they should therefore like, be super healthy and live their life and stuff like that. And, as a doctor, you probably need to be like, right, cool, this person actually doesn't really not care, but like their idea of like a good quality life is less than what I would hold it to. So you kind of need to match there.
You have to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, in sports medicine, we have the opposite problem sometimes.
Oh, you're like bringing...
Yeah, like the very high-performing younger athlete who might be dealing with an injury and they want to go back in as soon as possible. We kind of have to slow them down and tell them like, hey, you have a long career ahead of you. If you just treat this injury right now, like you'll be good in the future. But if you kind of mismanage it at this point, this could be a lingering injury for years, right? So,
oh, dude, that's me.
It's the opposite spectrum. Yeah.
That's
no,
me.
I can understand it too, because if I get injured, I'm trying to get back as soon as possible.
Yeah, but that's literally exactly what happened to me. Where like I injured my back multiple times, and I never. My idea of taking time off was like waiting until the pain was less enough that I could get back to training. I wasn't even like I'd wait for the pain to go. I would just wait for it to be like bearable, and then I would train. And I would take a week off. I wouldn't even do anything to rehab it.
Yeah.
But then, look at me. Like then I've spent the last 2 years of my life, like going around like doctors, physios, this and that. And like, thankfully, it appears I've not done something like long term. But yeah, like for 2 years, I honestly kind of was, once it got to like a year and a half into it, I was like, I kind of resigned myself to like, I fucked this.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was like, I think I fucked this. Like something's not right. I can't get over it. And I think it's kind of like, and it made me think as well, like obviously like sports like such a massive part of my life. Like I train every day.
Yeah.
I mean, like I train every day. I train every day.
Yeah.
So like, therefore, like the reason I wanted to get better was because I was like, if I'm not training in some capacity, like that is, I mean, maybe I identify with that like a little bit, like, so I guess what I'm getting at here is like, I was so determined to just like go from like thing to thing to thing to try and find a way of fixing this back, because I was like, this is my life. Like I can't just not do this. But I was like, what happens if someone who had maybe the same thing as me, but like sport wasn't their life?
Yeah.
And they went to the first doctor and they were like, they gave them the kind of answer that they gave me, which was like, we don't know, just like tell us if it gets any worse and we'll have to think about something more serious, like a surgery or stuff like that. Like how many people like that just end up with like a truly chronic for life injury that they actually could like get better, but they don't have that drive they don't have the thing that's kind of forcing them to do it. They just kind of resign themselves to like, oh, I guess my back's fucked now.
There's a huge spectrum of how people react to injuries. Like some people like take rehab very seriously and are motivated to get back. Some people are so motivated that they can't take that break, like kind of like you said, or like they exercise like as part of their identity or for like their mental health. So like I think dealing with that is part of the rehab, honestly, because like I would feel the same way. Like if I got an injury where I wasn't able to train, I think that would take a huge hit on my mental health. And it's like, how would I deal with that?
Yeah, no. Like anytime like when like my heart bleeds the most when I see people who are like our age and they have like, they've either got like a severe like physical disability or and I'm just like, fucking hell, man. Like I know you're like, I obviously identify heavily with like exercise and training for like my lifestyle. And I guess like if you were born different, you would probably identify a different way. But I'm like, man, that's like, I can't imagine like not being able to, because that is my outlet. Like that's definitely my mental like releases.
Yeah.
And I probably like a lot of like I've said it a few times now, but my identity, like, or like the confidence I get.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I definitely get a confidence from like being a physically fit person.
Yeah.
And being like, I could fuck everyone up and now get on.
Yeah. Yeah. If I go on vacation for a week and don't work out, it's like, oh, I start feeling it. Yeah. I'm like, I'm less confident. I'm more irritable. Yeah. Like it sucks.
A little more chubby.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm definitely, I'm kind of finding that just now because I'm obviously doing this long swim. And, you know, there's a balance between like endurance and, you know, I've some messing around with my diet just now because I need to increase it because the training's increasing and, you know, like, I'm kind of like putting on like a little bit of chubby weight, which actually doesn't bother me because I'm older and I'm less insecure, I guess.
Yeah.
But there's also still a part of me that's like, yeah, but I kind of do want to look better than like being a little chubby Buddha, just like swimming in his Speedos in the water. Like, yeah, I guess that's more my vanity.
So you've done like a few now, right? Like you did like the 100-mile race.
Yeah,
You're training for this swim. Yeah. Do you feel like you're going to do that forever? Like even as you age, you want to constantly have some goal that you're working towards, or do you feel like right now, while you're still young, physically, kind of in your prime,
I think I would like to do it forever. Yeah, I would like to do it. I think, but then, I would. And I was kind of saying this to again a friend the other day. Like, quite a lot of my friends back home are now getting into golf, and I was kind of thinking about how like I'd rather do that like later in life,
right? Because right now you can't like. I guess as you age, you're going to have different expectations for yourself. Like you might not be able to do this swim when you're in 20 years.
Oh God, I don't know if I can do it now, but yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm struggling.
You got to change what sport you're into. Like I think about that a lot. It's like right now I can still do Muay Thai, so I'm going to do it. But in 10, 15 years, I don't know, maybe I'll do tennis or something.
Yeah, or like jiu-jitsu maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Have you done tennis before?
Yeah.
You can have a tennis look about you. I don't know why.
Do I? Yeah. No, I played a bit in med school.
Okay,
I loved it. It's fun.
Yeah.
I want to get back into it.
Yeah. So what sports did you do growing up?
Growing up, so main one was, so I started off karate. That was like my first sport.
Yeah, maybe you tell me that.
I started when I was like 5 or 6.
Yeah. Did
that for a long time. And then my karate gym was kind of interesting because they had like multiple practitioners. So they had like a jiu-jitsu black belt. They had like a American boxing guy, kickboxing. So I kind of dabbled into a bunch of different martial arts that way.
Yeah.
And then more casually, I just played basketball, soccer, like anything my friends were playing just in the neighborhood, you know, just pick it up. But combat sports was always my like main one. It's the only one I ever competed in. So yeah. And then racket sports more recently, to be honest. Got into like we have a squash court in the building. So I started playing squash. Yeah.
You and Lama?
No, me and her brother, Mazen. Yeah.
I imagine that would be quite intense.
Oh yeah, it's a workout. It's a workout.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
First
good.
thing I saw, I was like, wow, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was like, wow, you're a big boy.
Yeah, no, he kicks my ass in squash. Yeah. It's fun though.
Yeah, it definitely seems like you take it pretty seriously. And the brief, you know, time I met him, I was like, yeah, you seem like I wouldn't fuck.
It's competitive. I like playing with people who are competitive though. It makes it funner. Like let's play.
Are you quite a competitive person?
I would say so. Yeah. It can get the best of me from times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I
did the intramural basketball league in med school, and I think I like took it a little too serious.
Yeah. And do you do you have any like competitive nature in your work, or is that not really?
A little bit. Like I want to
personal, like being the best you can be.
Yeah, I think I compete with myself more than anything. Like I want to be really good at what I do. I take that seriously for sure. I don't know if I'm competitive with my colleagues in that way.
Yeah,
it's very collaborative. I feel it's like I can speak about sports medicine. Like it's very collaborative. People are happy to like help each other out. So I like that.
Yeah,
it's very much a team sport.
Yeah, I guess. Because if it is like I guess if it's competitive in a hospital.
Yeah,
it'd probably lead to like not
ideal.
Yeah, because we were kind of chatting before about like how like the certain way like medicine can be structured at times. It's like it may not be the structure of the industry may not be like tailored towards like the best kind of care. Might actually be tailored towards the most kind of like turnover of patients, and therefore like money coming in and out of the
just how we're compensated. That kind of has an effect of how medicine's practiced. For better or for worse, right?
Yeah, but that's what I was saying in those, like, that kind of, I can't remember if it was on this or before this, we were trying about that Stanford project, that Stanford experiment.
Yeah.
I think we were.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, like, part of that was, like, they were, like, everyone involved in it was, like, financially incentivized to be in it.
Right.
So, you know, that also kind of skews the thing, because some of the people afterwards were like, oh, well, we thought if we didn't play the part that we were supposed to play, we wouldn't have got paid.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like kind of like, to like what you're saying about work, like, yeah, you kind of give people a financial incentive to do something, and typically they're going to do it to like get that outcome or that idea to fruition, as opposed to like, what is the best way of doing this?
Yeah. Like, I think most people who go into medicine go into it because they want to help people. But like, I don't know, everyone has families, everyone has bills, like they need to get compensated for what they do too. Especially medicine, it's like one of those careers where you delay gratification for so long, right? Like you're in school for so long.
Oh, dude.
So you get old before you're making any money.
So how long is school? I know you did the sports medicine aspect of it, but how, if you were just like doing...
The path.
Yeah.
So to get into medical school in Canada, you need an undergrad degree for almost all the schools. So like typically 4 years of undergrad. And then med school is another 4 years on top of that. A couple schools are 3 years, but in general it's 4 years.
Yeah.
After that is residency. So you start getting paid there, but you're like an intern. So you're still in training. So family medicine residency is 2 years. Everything else is about 5 years, like all the other specialties.
That's crazy.
So I did family, so 2 years, and then I did a fellowship in sports med, so another year. So is that like...
is that 11 years? Is that right? Like 4 and then 2 and 1?
Yeah, but then I did 5 years of undergrad actually, so extra year for me.
Okay, damn.
Yeah.
And the undergrad, does that have to be anything in medicine, or is it just...
No.
So that doesn't make sense to me. Like, why... Yeah. Like, if you did an undergrad in, say, art, could you then do, like...
You can, yeah.
That's mental, though, like, because there's no...
I used to think that, too, but I kind of understand it now. Like, I almost feel like it's better to do something outside of science.
Right, okay.
For, like, character development, almost.
Okay,
not for knowledge. Like, you'll learn everything you need to know in medicine.
Yeah.
But, like, I think having, like, a diversity of thought and idea in medicine, like, enhances it. Because it's very much, like, dealing with people. Like, you have to know the science and, like, understand that side of it. Yeah. But dealing with people, like, you learn that through experience, right?
Yeah.
So, like, going through art or music or engineering, I think can add a lot. Like, and you have to write the exam, and to, like, the MCAT exam to get into medical school. And to do that, you need some physics and chemistry and biology.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. So even if you do something else, you still have to take certain science courses.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, because I get, just what you say kind of builds your character a little bit more than just like being that's crazy though. That's so long.
Yeah. I used to think it was dumb that you even needed an undergrad, because some countries you go straight into medicine.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a very good idea. Like, I think dealing with people, once again, like, people are telling you intimate details about their life, like some of the hardest things that they're going through. You need a certain level of maturity to deal with that.
Fuck yeah.
You know, if you're just coming out of high school and you're dealing with that, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So I think the undergrad's good.
I remember, like, to your point there, like, I remember telling when I was like going through a period of having panic attacks and stuff like that, I remember telling like one of my best mates about it. He literally laughed.
Yeah.
But I think it was because we were like 21 at the time, and he just had no idea how to react. Imagine, you know, I guess obviously if you've actually trained medicine, you may not laugh in someone's face, but you might also have like a equally, like, you yourself are like young and you've not had like life experience as well. Like, even, you know, not necessarily even the undergrad, but you've had like another 4 years of life.
Exactly. I think that's what it is.
Just
life.
Yeah. Because imagine, like, we were talking about, you know, being our age now, like, you know, in your early 30s or 30s, sorry. People already being like, you're quite young. Like, imagine someone was like 20.
Yeah.
I guess, actually, I don't know when you finish university, but like early 20s.
Yeah,
there'd be a degree of like, I would, even as open-minded as I am, I think I would be like, so how old are you? You seem like, pretty young.
I think just going through medical school in general, though, it like forces you to grow up a little bit and become mature.
Well, I mean, it's also because what you're doing is it's not like a game.
Yeah.
You know, like, it truly is like you're making decisions. I mean, not everything, but like everything has like a health aspect to it. Like, that's like a lot of pressure than opposed to me. Like, if I, you know, again, I work in tourism. If I, like, this happened a couple of weeks ago, like, I put someone in on, they had a booking and I put it in for the wrong date.
Yeah.
So they call us in the morning on the Wednesday, and they're like, hey, like, no one's here. And I'm like, yeah, it's Friday. Like, you're booked. And they're like, no, it's Wednesday. And I was like, fuck it, it's Wednesday.
And you're just like,
I just fucked up, but which sucks for them, obviously. And I'm not taking away from the fact that I've fucked up, but like, you know, to be like brutal, like, be just like blunt about it, like, me fucking up someone's booking for rock climbing compared to like you making any kind of health decision, like, I mean, is it going to kill them? Me? No.
Yeah.
You know, like, not necessarily.
You were messing up their vacation a little bit, maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
which
they were pretty raging.
I bet.
They were raging. And I get it. Like, I totally fucked up. So I'm not trying to take away, but I guess I'm just putting it into like the more, yeah, like life and death scenarios.
Yeah.
And I guess not everything is necessarily life and death, but
yeah, definitely not like life and death in every situation, but you're still dealing with their life.
Yeah.
And things that they typically don't want to deal with. Like people have a lot of anxiety around their health, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's fleeting, especially as you get older. Like you feel it.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah, I think I have probably like an oversensitized feeling of my own mortality these days, Yeah. I guess, and again, I keep coming back to it more because I had that chronic thing for ages, and I was just like, fuck me, is this? I honestly remember being like, is this it? Am I going to, I remember, this is like a couple months ago, 4 months on end, being like, is this it? Am I just going to be in pain for like forever? So yeah, definitely. And it's fine now. I'm kind of over it. Like,
that's good. Yeah. I wanted to go back to what you said about your friend though, when you like were telling about your health anxiety and you just like laughed at you. It's like in medicine, like we're also people, right? So I feel like we're still having those same thoughts, but you learn to have like a professional face on top of it. So you're not going to like express any of that to your patient, but like sometimes you're in situations that are hilarious or fucked up and you're thinking that in your mind, but you're like, you need to stay professional. So that's a big part of the job, honestly.
Yeah, I think that was something I learned, like, I learned where, like, you're, like, just to, like, understand that your intrusive thoughts aren't, like, sometimes they're not even your conscious thoughts.
Yeah.
It's like your subconscious, it just comes in, like, you haven't, because remember, like, I have some, like, weird intrusive thoughts, nothing, like, crazy, but it's fucking, like, stupid stuff, like, like, you think about throwing your phone off a building.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And I'm like, why would I fucking think that?
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think realizing that isn't you're not actually thinking that, but then then put it in a situation where you're a doctor and you've got a patient in front of you and you're having these intrusive thoughts. Like it must be, to just like keep that veneer of like, And also I would imagine there's people that, you've kind of said this already, but there's people that come in and that they're really just coming in to vent to you as opposed to having a problem. And it must be hard not to, I guess it's almost like an element of customer service where you have 100%. To hide your frustration.
Yeah.
You have to help them through the problem, even though like, this is a bit of a joke.
Yeah.
Not actually like funny, like you're like, this is a bit of a joke that they've came in with this issue and I'm fucking having to like, talk them down. But then I guess it's like
part of the job, like,
and it's like everyone, like, like everyone's got a different perspective on life and everyone has had a different life. Like my friend, I was chatting about this with a friend, I can't remember what he does, but I think he like, it's a ski patroller or something, but he was saying that sometimes people come in with like a graze in their elbow, like literally just like a scratch, and they're like they're like, this is the most intense pain I've ever had, like, and they're like, needs everyone's attention, etc., etc. And he was like, and you'll get people who come in with broken legs and they're like, I'm sweet. I just need this fixed, but I'm totally fine. And he's like, it's just because maybe to the person who grazed their elbow, that is literally the worst thing that's ever happened to them. And it's hard not to put your own I mean, like you obviously are in combat sports, you've done a few amateur things, you're also a doctor, so you've had a ton of experience. It must be hard not to be like, this is a graze, like, chill the fuck out.
But you kind of have to remind yourself of that. Like everybody has had different experiences. And like the way I like to deal with those when I catch myself getting frustrated, like I think like, all right, this person took time out of their day to come see their doctor. Now I'm walking in as their doctor. Like how would I want my experience to go? Like, it's like, okay, they're feeling something. Let me just acknowledge like what they're feeling, as opposed to, because I can like, at that point, it's like, I'm not dealing with what they're actually talking about. I'm dealing with their emotions. So I need to acknowledge that. If I don't acknowledge that, they're not going to feel good walking out. If I just say you're fine, like this, you have nothing to worry about this injury, they'll be frustrated walking out. But if I'm like, okay, what's bothering you about this injury? Like, what are you feeling? What are you worried about? Like getting down to those feelings, I think that's how you deal with it.
Yeah, it's kind of what Lama was saying earlier, where like you need to kind of give them the experience of it, even if it's like, and she's obviously saying that because she's like, I'm confident that I know that this is nothing, but like you need to give them that experience of like you have done the due diligence, you've addressed the thing that they think is wrong, whether it actually is a problem or not, and they therefore leave with the confidence that they're fine. Because like if you just like you were saying, and then I think you were saying how like some doctors will like internally process the thing in their head and they'll just dismiss the person.
They won't communicate
it. Yeah.
So you got to remember, like we've seen so many cases, so we can kind of tell pretty quickly like what's more serious, what's nothing to worry about. But like just a regular person who has no medical background, they don't know that, right? So they're just thinking worst case scenario, like, oh, I'm gonna die from this, or do I have cancer? So like, I think a big part of our job is education, communication, especially even in sports medicine. Like people come in with arthritis and they don't understand that it's like a chronic condition, that you just manage it.
Oh God, man,
you know.
Yeah.
So like education is a huge part of the job, and just being able to communicate that.
Yeah.
Honestly, like it also ties back to like what I love about medicine. Like you learn so much about people. Like you see different types of people, and like how their psychology impacts their experience of like pain and health and what they prioritize. Like that part is really interesting.
Yeah, you also like seen people like at times I would imagine that they're most vulnerable as well.
Yeah.
You know, like when I've ever gone into a doctor, like, yeah, I'm probably am worried because I actually won't really go to the doctor unless it is something serious. Like the kind of hilarious like ultrasound experience I had.
Yeah.
I was telling you earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I would only go if I was like pretty sick, and you're kind of like you're obviously going in like in a vulnerable kind of like position.
It's incredible how much people will share with their doctor.
Yeah.
And like
you're like,
just casually.
Yeah, you're like, why you tell me this?
Yeah. But it's kind of also necessary. Like sometimes to give good care, you have to tell your doctor like very vulnerable things.
Yeah.
That's like the trouble when like family will like casually ask for a medical opinion. It's like, oh, to do my job properly, I have to ask you like 50 questions, and some of them are things you probably don't want to share with me, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm trying to think of like personally, but yeah, I've definitely had stuff like that where, yeah, just where like I've probably been asked something. Again, the thing I was telling you about earlier, where they asked me if I did something and I lied to them and said no, and ultimately like that was the cause of the experience I was having.
Yep.
You know, so it's like, yeah, I kind of lied and therefore got like a wrong kind of like diagnosis, or I got sent down the wrong path for like a short period of time.
Yeah.
And I always think, and this is kind of random, but I always think that about taxi drivers as well. Like, how many times I've been in a taxi like 3 a.m. and you know, friends are like arranging extracurricular like shenanigans that they want to do, and I'm like, why are you saying, like, how are you just saying this in front of like a taxi driver? Like, you know,
it's almost like they're not there.
It's almost like they're not there. But yeah, I guess with going back to being a doctor though, it's like, yeah, people. Yeah, you're like it's like probably like one of those rare industries outside of like therapy and stuff like that, where people like can tell you like really personal things, and obviously without giving any detail. Like, has there been occasions where someone's told you something and you're like, holy shit, this is
sometimes
really,
it's heavy. Like sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's really like sad. So you have to like process that after. Like in the room, you're there to help them, but then when you walk out, it's like, okay, how do I process that?
How do you process
just talking to people?
Oh really? Yeah, I guess you were saying with Llama you can have that.
It's really nice to have that like in the house, right? Like a lot of like hospitals or clinics, if something like pretty heavy happens, they'll have like a formal debrief for it. But just like even informally with your colleagues, like not sharing like specific details, but just talking about like difficult cases or whatnot can be really helpful, because everybody's going through it in this field, right? So just sharing about it helps a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think like the most benefit I've ever got is usually like long form conversations. Like again, this is kind of maybe where this is like appeared as well. Like, you know, even like, I remember when I was traveling, like I would meet people. Again, I was traveling by myself, so you meet like-minded people, and like I remember like you'd meet some people and I would have like these pretty like deep conversations, but like what were effectively strangers at the time, and I probably haven't chatted to them ever since. But you know, like just like sharing like these conversations, and just like it was a massive benefit to it. And do you like journal at all? Or you?
Yeah, I used to, because Lama does like quite a bit of journaling, so she kind of encouraged me to do it. So I did a bit. I definitely found it helpful when I was doing it consistently, but to be honest, I just get lazy with it.
No, I'm the same.
Yeah, I'm more of a let's just talk it out and then I feel better and then move on.
I think it's probably like the same thing. Like if you don't have someone to chat to, then I guess like chatting to your journal, writing it down is probably like much of a similar process.
Yeah.
Because I definitely have the same where like, I guess maybe because in Banff, like my girlfriend's not there just now, so I don't really, I mean, I can talk to her on the phone, but then I want to, on the phone, like get into a deep conversation about whatever. And I think obviously when you're on the phone, and like it's probably easier for me to I don't want to use the word hide, but like, like when I talk to Cass, I want to be like cheerful. I want to be like stressed about something. But if the person lives with you and you can see them, their body language, the way they're acting, you're like, right, okay, something's up here, and you can kind of have that conversation. But as a guest, so sorry, what I was saying there was with journaling. I probably have a little bit of that. Like it's almost like writing it down, which is probably the same as speaking out loud. It's almost like get it out of your mind.
It's there. The one thing I did think about journaling that was better is like there's a permanence to it. Like you write it down and it's not that it's like you're just forgetting about it. It's like you've dealt with it. Where sometimes with a conversation you don't feel that because it's not like saved. If that makes sense. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of remunerate it. Is that
yeah?
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
My mind.
Like, yeah. Remuneration. It doesn't sound
slipped
like
my mind now.
Yeah.
Ruminate.
Yeah.
Ruminate. Yeah.
You can kind of just keep going over and over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Like we were talking about like medicine a lot, but I think any career where you're dealing with people, you end up learning a lot about like psychology and humanity.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like we're playing at the wedding now, right? And we like had meetings with our florist, and we're taking like dance lessons for the first dance, and like I kind of observe them observing us as a couple and like how we interact and the questions we ask, and I'm like, oh, they probably learn a lot about couples and like the different dynamics between different types of couples, and like it's fascinating, right? Just like whatever your job is, if you're dealing with people, you're going to learn about people. Yeah,
I think as well, like I get to our age, and like I think I just always assume that people are older than you or maturer than you, they're smarter than you, the blah blah blah, and then you kind of like, some people aren't.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'm hanging out with people who are older than me, and I'm like, why did you just say, like, why are you doing this? Why did you say that? Like, yeah, you kind of, I love it, like people watching. I know that's like a kind of like worldwide passion of a lot of people.
Oh yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, I absolutely love people watching.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think again, maybe kind of going full circle with that conversation and like having community and like having people to chat to.
Yeah,
like obviously, especially with your work, like my work's not that like, again, like I was kind of stressed. I told Cass about that, people whose day I've ruined, but you know, like that was kind of like that. It was over really. Whereas I guess with you, I would assume that it's a bit more serious than that. Like, you know, again, like not like taking on all the pressure of like other people's sadness, or I mean, obviously there's the other side of things where like, you know, you help people and they think you're a fucking legend.
It's definitely satisfying.
Is there like the opposite side of that where you're like trying not to let your ego get too much?
Definitely.
I
like
cleared that person's cold.
I think the fear of missing stuff overpowers that quite a bit.
Yeah, true.
At least for me at this stage. Yeah, definitely. But it can be like, oh yeah, you can feel like top shit sometimes.
Yeah. Do you ever like, when you're just like out and about, like chatting to people, do you ever have any like, if someone's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Are you just like straight up like, I'm a doctor? Or do you ever have any?
I always feel awkward about it, to be honest. I'm not there yet. Yeah, like it happens at the store sometimes. Like I would be like shop for clothes and someone's like, oh, like what do you do? I'm like, I'm a doctor. Yeah. And they're like, oh, they're kind of taking it back. I think it's because I look young again still.
You do,
So it's like, oh shit.
But I think it's also like, because you are a pretty humble person, like, so you're not therefore like, you aren't just be like, I'm a doctor. Because you could literally just be like, I'm a doctor, and I'd be like, oh sweet. Like if I didn't know you and you said that to me, I'd be like,
I'm trying to make it more normal, because I feel like when I'm awkward about it, it makes it worse.
Yeah, it probably does. Like I definitely do that with something, but I'm trying to remember. Like I think with these, like I sometimes get that with these kind of more endurance things.
Yeah.
Where like someone will be like,
ask
me about it, and like, so right now, so I'm swimming the channel, right? That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But like people will ask me because I'm swimming all the fucking time.
Yeah.
So people in the gym will be like, what are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm just like training for this race. And they're like,
swimming the channel.
But then I make it like really awkward to the point where they like have to like poke me to like be like, so what race?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm swimming the channel. But
like,
by the time that I've got to that point,
yeah.
I've made it really weird. I've now made it this weird, like, they're like, why wouldn't you just tell me that?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm like doing the,
I can kind of imagine that being the same, because it is this like very difficult thing you're trying to achieve.
But you also just don't want to be like, look at me, I'm doing this thing.
Yes. Yeah. It's that balance, right?
Yeah, it's that balance, like not being an asshole.
Yeah. And then, like me, like I just don't like attention on myself. Like I don't know if you tell, like yesterday, even like with my birthday, it's like, I don't like this. I don't like being the center of attention.
No, I'm the same, mate. Yeah. I haven't had a birthday party in fucking ages.
Yeah.
Because, I'm just like...
Dude, that was tough for me.
Yeah, that was good though. That was really sweet.
Yeah.
But
I just want to hang out with my friends, honestly. Yeah.
And this is like totally ironic saying that, because obviously this like podcast, I want to do something like that, but or maybe not really, because like this has been like the biggest until I started this, I haven't had social media for like 8 years or so.
Yeah.
So this has been like a real test in like sacrificing how comfortable I am with like not being someone who's like, you know, like constantly posting and putting myself out there. And as I say, I appreciate that. It's totally ironic considering I'm putting this on like Spotify and stuff. But
yeah.
It's been a real battle, and like imposter syndrome and just like fear of like, oh, is everyone just going to think I'm like an asshole for like doing this? Because I'm the same as you. Like I don't actually want that much attention.
Yeah.
You know, like I'll ultimately do this because if I didn't enjoy what we were doing right now, I mean, we were chatting like shit for hours before this.
Yeah.
You know, if I was purely doing it from the like grabbing attention point of view, I think I would just be like, I've written that in the journal like a bunch of times. I'm like, as soon as it gets to a point where like I'm doing this for the wrong reasons, i.e. like attention, I would like just bin it off. Because
so you want this to feel like that creative, enjoyable experience for you. Yeah.
Yeah, because ultimately that's why the only reason I actually have an Insta for it is because it's a good way of getting people I don't know to be on it. Like, you know, like with people like you and other people I've asked so far, they've all been people I've known, and I've been lucky that I know like a lot of like cool and interesting people.
Yeah.
But you know, like the circle around me is like, you know, eventually it's going to have a cap on it.
Yeah.
So like that's the only reason I have the Insta, is to like make it into something so that I can ask even people that are like just like slightly further my bubble. But
great way to like meet people.
Yeah, and it definitely has been. But yeah, definitely I know what you mean when you're just like, again, people have asked about this like podcast, and now I will just be like, I like it's a podcast or whatever.
You're just kind of confident in it.
There's been a couple of guys in the gym that have said to me, they're like, "Oh, I saw your thing on Spotify."
Oh, no way!
I just instantly die inside. Genuinely, I'm just like, the first time, I don't even know why, mate, the first time someone asked me, I played it off as if I didn't know what he was talking about. I was like, what? He said,
what are you talking about?
He said, yeah, so your thing is on Spotify. And I was like,
I
was like, what thing?
Yeah.
And I was just like, and even while I was doing it, I was like, what are you doing, man? Just be like,
Do you feel like you just naturally got over that embarrassment? Because I feel like I would have that. No, okay.
No, it's like,
how do you deal with that?
I guess to give you my honest answer, which is probably like a deeper one, I'm like, the fear of regretting not trying it later in life outweighs the fear of the judgment of other people right now.
Nice.
You know?
Yeah.
I would rather get to because, you know, like, again, without being too like morbid and deep about it, like fucking, you know, like, can you remember your grandparents' parents?
No, I never met them.
I don't even know my grandparents really. I knew my grands, but both my grandfathers passed away when I was 2.
Yeah.
So like what I'm saying there is like, you know, people are like quickly forgotten.
Yes.
So it's like hard to be like, you know, by the time we're all old, like I may not even live here. I may live in a totally different country.
Yeah. You
know, and the people that I'm worried about now judging me for this thing that I'm doing, like I probably won't even fucking know who they are.
Yeah.
You know,
and people are busy with their own lives.
Yeah.
Like I think we always overestimate how much we think other people are thinking about us.
Oh, definitely.
You know? Like people are busy. Nobody cares.
You think about like a night out. I don't know if you do this, but like if you think about a night out, maybe you drank a bit too much.
Oh yeah. You say something stupid.
Yeah. And then you spend the whole day, and I'm better at this now.
Yeah.
But you spend like a good part of the day being like, fuck, I said to Shak about the fucking thing. And then you're like, you realize that like Shak's probably thinking the exact same thing as you.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember anything that he said.
Yeah.
I can only remember the thing that I said, and I'm better now reminding myself of that. I'm like, well, what did Shak say? And I'm like, fucking can't even remember anything he said.
Yeah.
But you just fixate on the thing that you did, and you assume. So I think that's it. I think I think
it's really good, man. Like doing things that make you uncomfortable and stepping out of your comfort zone. Like it's so easy to stay in your comfort zone.
Yeah.
You know, and like I don't think it necessarily gets easier to step out of that comfort zone, but that's exactly the point, right? Like constantly challenging yourself, and it opens you up to experiences.
Yeah. What's your like uncomfortable thing that you're kind of putting yourself into?
I hate anything public. Like even this now, I was like, oh man.
I know. I appreciate you doing it, because I know again, like I know it sounds like I'm talking shit, but like I am the same. Like anytime I'm kind of putting out there, I'm like, God, the like fear. But do you know, like with regards to the Muay Thai and stuff like that, or the sparring, do you get any uncomfortableness with that, or are you just like, this is sweet?
Not so much the sparring, I think.
Yeah.
For me, it's more just like putting myself out there in anything public. I get pretty uncomfortable with that, but I think I should get over that, especially like being in medicine. Like if I want to be involved in a community, like you kind of have to. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on like right now.
Yeah, I mean, so is doing something like this kind of like
part of it? Yeah. Like just like agreeing to do something like this, and it's like, like why not? Like this would be good for me, even though like I'm uncomfortable about the idea of it.
Oh, dude, so am I. Every time, like, I ask someone, I get buzzing, so I'll think of, like, you, and then I'm like, oh, I'll ask Shak, you'll say yeah. So, like, up until you say yeah, I'm buzzing, right? As soon as you say yeah, I'm just like, fuck.
Yeah.
I've done it to say, like, I did one with my friend Gavin on Thursday, and it was the same thing. I was buzzing, and then he said yeah, and then as soon as he said yeah, I was like, oh, fuck, man, I'm going to actually have to, like...
I don't know if you remember, I replied, like, really quick, so I'm like, I don't even want to think about this. I'm just going to say yes, and now I'm committed. I can't back out.
Yeah, true.
Because if I think about it too much, I'm going to make some excuse.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely. You can overthink something.
Yeah.
And sorry to like keep tying it back, but like with regards to medicine, is that like something you also like? Is there like a balance between like overthink, like giving something enough thought, but then not overthinking it? Because imagine with some scenarios or situations or illnesses, like there's various different kind of like.
Yeah, you got to trust your judgment a lot.
Yeah,
like, you can keep thinking about a problem, especially if you're not 100% certain. But the good thing about it is, like, you're not often in a situation where, like, you need to make a decision right now and that's final. You can often, like, send somebody for some lab work and think about it a little bit more. So it's a slower process that way. Like, people who are, like, working emergency medicine where they have to make a decision right away, or, like, if you're doing surgery, like, that's a bit more acute. Like, it's life or death. You need to make a decision right now. So I'm not in that situation as much. But, like, from the social aspect of it, I remember, like, going through medical school, like, I didn't even like interviewing patients, like talking to them, but like you do it so much that it just becomes normal. Like, I don't even think about it anymore. Like, I feel like if you have social anxiety going into medicine, it'll beat it out of you.
Yeah. I mean, like, not in any way comparing this to like being a doctor, but like this is kind of the same where like.
For sure. Oh yeah. It's the same type of repetition, right?
Yeah.
Sorry,
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. You just like do it so often that like you still have those butterflies, but you're just, you know, like within a couple of seconds of it beginning, you're just like, just like go through the wheels of motion. But then I was thinking about it where like, so Lama kind of said something about this where like, so when someone comes in, right, if they have like, do you have like a set like procedure or like protocols or like a list that you go through to like try and like diagnose something? Because imagine if someone comes in and they've like, I've got chest pain, like that could be like such a range of things. Like, is there like a kind of like list of stuff that you have to like?
Yeah, like while you're training, like a big thing that's kind of drilled into you is like develop your own approach for certain conditions. So if someone comes in with chest pain, it's like, hey, what are all the potential things that can cause chest pain? And then you think like, you categorize like, what are the common things and what are the dangerous things? So like in that initial visit, the main priority is make sure it's not one of the dangerous things, or investigate to rule those out, and then start thinking about what else it could be. So it's kind of like a process of elimination.
Yeah, I think, and also like what you're saying, you kind of come up with your own style. Like, this is like a bit more random, but I got braced behind my teeth and it broke and I had to get it fixed. So this was a dentist, not a doctor. Even though he definitely thought of himself as a doctor. He was chatting this shit to me for ages, mate. About like, not even like dentistry, just chatting shit. To the point where I was like, fucking hell, man, just like,
do my tooth.
Like I don't want to be rude, and I obviously didn't say that, but in my head I was like, because as I say, I was just like, he was just chatting shit for, I'm talking ages, like actually, like I was there for like an hour, and I was like, fuck me, man, like it was like, and he did a great job, the thing was fixed, and you know, and he was, but I was like, he was super, obviously like he was a lot older, like really comfortable, but his personality was like shining through. But I was like maybe a little bit less personality and more just a bit like, well, let's get this thing fixed and then get you on your way. I feel like he was chatting to me about like his life. I think maybe it was a slow day or something like that. But
fair enough. I mean, I do find that like, because the job is pretty busy, like you're dealing with people all the time. If somebody comes in who has like does something interesting for a living or an interesting hobby, like I love chatting to them. Just like tell me about it, and then usually they're like about it, like they're like passionate about something. They'll talk. Like I remember like hunters specifically, for some reason I like just asking them questions. Like I met a guy who did like, he toured, he would hunt like cougars. He led like tours for that, like mountain lions
here.
I think it was up in the territories, maybe. I think he was saying, but he was like, you use dogs, and the dogs chase the cat and get them up a tree, and that's when you shoot them. I was like, dude, that's fascinating.
That's wild. I think also because that doesn't exist in the, I mean, obviously cougars don't exist in the UK. I was going to make a joke there, but anyway. But yeah, like hunting really isn't a thing. I mean, you get the States up in the Highlands, which is like game hunting, which is like you shoot pheasants down, or like you maybe like hunt a stag, but it's not the same as it is here. Like, so yeah, I definitely find it really interesting when I talk to people who are hunters, and you know, there's like ethical questions to it, like with regards to like should you not, like if everyone did it, blah blah blah. But it's really interesting.
Yeah, it's something like I have no experience with, so like I just want to, like, that's one of the cool parts about the job. You meet like people from all like walks of life. So it's like I don't know anything about this world. Like, let's just chat about it for 5 minutes while you're here, and then we can talk about your medical issues too.
Yeah, I've had, but, you know, like after I've got my like,
This is my little debrief session for the day. You know,
you're like the 100th person I've seen today. Please just give me like 5 minutes of entertainment.
Yeah, exactly. No, but for most people are receptive to it. Like if I feel like they're not, like they're worried about their health, like obviously I'm not gonna derail their whole conversation. But
yeah, definitely. Like again, in no way comparing it to what you do, but like I've done some like driving stuff. Like I've driven from people from like Calgary, Lake Louise. So it's like a 2 and a bit hour drive where you're like driving people, and usually I feel within the first couple of sentences you can gauge whether how someone wants to chat. Like, again, this is not like medicine, but like you know, I usually give the whole like, oh, you're here on holiday, blah blah, and usually within their first couple of answers you can gauge like, right, cool, this person is just
doesn't want to talk.
or like they'll instantly ask me about my accent or something like that, and then you're just like, right, cool, this is going to be a 2 hour conversations. But I've had like like I've chatted to some people that are like same as what you're saying, they just do something like incredibly cool. Like there was this guy from, God, I can't remember where, but it was somewhere like real South America. So he had a real Southern accent. But he was a physicist. And I had just read a book by, maybe it's a weird coincidence in the universe, but I had just read a book on by a guy called Brian Greene, who's a physicist. And I can't remember what it was called, but the whole book was about like human consciousness from a physicist's point of view.
Interesting.
And anyway, so like, but it was like an incredibly dense book. But anyway, met this guy like within a week or so after reading it, who was in that field of research, and I was chatting to him. And I remember, and this was like a public bus, so there was like other people there, and I remember I was like, these people must think this is the most bizarre conversation. Like my accent, his deep Southern accent, discussing like
metaphysics.
He was actually a physicist, so he was eloquently like outlining his ideas, where I was more like a monkey, like, so how does the fucking you know, I think they were just like, why is this guy talking to us? And I think they were probably like, this guy's our driver, like he seems like an idiot. You know? But yeah, I get what you mean though, like you do meet people and they're just like incredibly interesting. And again, like with your line of work, like when it is such like fast paced, where like, you know, you have that kind of time constraint at times to see people, it must be nice, like even selfishly so, to have like a couple of minutes of just like, wow, that's like interest in your day. You know,
it's crazy how like lifted you feel after like even a 5-minute conversation like that.
Definitely. Yeah,
it goes back to that community piece. Like, why does that make us feel so good? Like just having like a 5-minute conversation that both people are like invested in. Like, it lifts you up, it fills you up, and then I feel like I'm ready to do my job again.
Yeah, definitely. And again, like pulling it back to this is like, honestly, like I have a massive selfish aspect of that in this whole thing that I'm doing. Like, you know, I've done this a bunch of times now, and like again, like every time I come away from it, I'm like, feel like, I just feel really good after it, you know? And I think it's like when and whenever, like if I hadn't like had this podcast to ask you about, like when would I be like, hey Shak, do you mind, I know we've been chatting like literally the whole day, but when would I be like, hey Shak, do you mind like, you know, sitting down with me for like, I don't know, like maybe like an hour and a half now, and just like chat. Like we probably would do it, but like again, maybe going back to like not really wanting attention and like being a bit more introverted, like I probably wouldn't do that. I wouldn't text you being like, hey Shak, do you mind if I come to your apartment and talk to you for 2 hours and just leave? You'd be like, no. Like, go to your doctor.
Exactly, went to your doctor. I have thought about that a bit though. It's like, I think like anything you do, there is going to be like a selfish component to it. You know, like it motivates you to do stuff. Like there is a reason I think we have egos. You know, like there's this whole concept of like ego death and getting rid of the ego, but like the ego also motivates you to do things. Like I don't think it's purely egotistical or purely like benevolent, you know? Like even something like this, like you benefit from it, I benefit from it. Hopefully some other people benefit from it, like whatever, right? Even being a doctor, like you can think like there's financial incentive, there's like societal incentive, like it's a very well-respected profession, right? Like you go into it because you want to help people, but is there also an element like did I also go into it because I want like societal respect or like the financial aspect? Like that's definitely something you consider when you go into a field like medicine, you know? So I don't think it's purely one way or the other, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing either.
Yeah, I mean, like you really do one of those few jobs in the world that actually like matter. Like genuinely, I'm not saying that
I
just
think a lot of jobs matter.
Yeah, but I know, but I mean, like if you like, you know, whenever I see, so this is like pretty mean, but if I see like someone like a ticket attendant like in the street like giving people tickets, I'm like, fucking get a real job, man. Like, just, I know it is a real job, but I mean in the sense of like fucking like giving people tickets. Like,
I know it sucks.
Whereas like, you know, like yours is like you can like that. Me saying get a real job is like be a doctor. Like, so there must be like a sense of like, you know what I mean? My job's like that. I work tourism. Like, is my job like, you know, if people don't go same as the ticket person, you know, like if they don't go rock climbing, is it gonna like really make a difference? Like if my job was to cease to exist, would it make a difference? Probably not really. Like, I mean, I guess people can't like go out and enjoy themselves, blah blah blah. But yeah, you're doing one of those jobs which is truly like imagine there was just no more doctors, or even less doctors than there are now. Like there would be a significant impact in society.
That'd be a problem.
Whereas if there's like less tour operators, people would probably just do other shit. You know what I mean?
But I feel like I love seeing someone who enjoys what they do and they take it seriously.
Yeah.
Like even like especially in service, right? Like if I go to like a restaurant and the waiter is incredible, like dude, they just made my whole night better. Like the whole experience better. The same thing like in your line of field, like if you go for like a tour and the tour guide is incredible, like that matters. I think it matters a lot. Like
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I love seeing that. Like people who are just passionate about what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Or even if it's not like service based, like if you make a product, like if you're like really care about your product and you want it to be like the best, like I love that stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I think one of my friends back home, again another photographer, so him and I did like a bunch of hiking together in the Highlands, and we would I'm not like a big photographer guy actually, like really at all. I don't really take pictures at all.
Fair enough, yeah.
But him and I would go hiking, and sometimes it'd be work related, sometimes it wouldn't, because he'd be doing product shoots and stuff like that. But sometimes we would just be going. He would be going to get content, but more just for like his freelance stuff. And anyway, like, you know, I would go have an amazing weekend, come back, and I wouldn't really think anything of it. But then he would then send me pictures. Yeah. And dude, the pictures made what was already like a good weekend, like, like infinitely better. Yeah. And you know, it ultimately came because of his like this, like his kind of like love and passion of the photography. Like he created these like pictures and like would send them to me, and I was like, you know, that's like, it just took it to another level.
I have so much respect for creatives, like whatever it is, like if you just create something beautiful and like put it out for the world to enjoy, like, oh, I respect that.
Yeah, I think there's also like, again, kicking around my friend who's doing the photography stuff in the last month or so, like being with someone. And there was another time where like we were doing he had another friend who was another photographer. They were working on the thing together. So the two of them, and like, I'm just like, I literally was just the body of the person running around. Yeah. But I was like watching them, and they were like watching people in like a creative outlet, like in real time, like they were like, oh, like what about, because we were in the woods and they were to like run and jumping over stuff. And they were like, oh, what about this and what about that? And I was like, just watching them was like, the process. Oh, it was so cool though, but also like being around that. I was like, the creativity to be like,
it's inspiring, eh?
Yeah, it really was. I kind of was like, this is like so fun. And I know that there's hard parts like the editing and blah,
for sure.
Blah, blah.
Yeah, you can easily glorify it. Right?
Yeah, but
and
like,
not appreciate how much work goes into it.
Yeah, but being around creative people, like it definitely, it definitely interesting. It definitely changes. Like it certainly changes me. Like I came more from like a kind of like, you go to school, you go to university, you get a job, that's your career, and you're kind of you're off on the road, and then it's kind of changed over the last couple of years. I've obviously moved out in a probably like quite a creative place. Yeah, you know, you kind of surround yourself with people. I wonder like, there's that idea of like nature over nurture. Like how much are you born the way you are, but how much are you shaped by the environment around you? Yeah. You know, like even like the career that you choose, like you medicine and me, I mean, I've done a couple now, but you know, like that also like kind of shapes your
100%
your outlook as well. Yeah. And do you feel like since you've gone from, I mean, I know you've obviously matured in the time as well, because you know, you're 30 now. Yeah. But like, has your like kind of perspective shifted as you've like had the experience of like medicine and like being a doctor and stuff like that? Yeah,
it's interesting. Me and Nama have talked about this quite a bit. Like I think what we've come down to is like, in retrospect, when you look at yourself when you're younger, you feel like there was like certain elements that have been stable your whole life, but they become clearer as you age. like you might have done something when like I remember decisions I made when I was much younger, and at the time I didn't fully realize why I made that decision. But now in retrospect, I'm like, oh yeah, it's very like consistent with my values today. So yeah, like I do feel like I've changed a lot and matured a lot, but in a lot of ways, like there were some core foundational, I think, values that have guided my life, and they're still that way. If that makes sense. I don't know if that was clear or not, but
yeah, what would they be?
Like, yeah, that's a good question. We haven't talked about this for a while, but like, I don't know. For me, I've always like craved, I think, some sort of adventure, and that's kind of what inspired this move. To be honest, like I lived in London prior to this my whole life, and I was like itching to leave. Not because like I was trying to run away from anything there, but more so I was like, oh, what else is out there? I kind of want to experience life for myself and make my own decisions that way. Also, like in terms of like what we value and in terms of like what our home looks like, I feel like my taste is very different than my family's taste. I'm like, where did that come from? But I feel like in retrospect, it's always kind of been there. Just stuff like that when we think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think the same. Like, yeah, there's certain things that I think or do or that I've always thought that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's easier to like look back in your memory and kind of like shape it to fit your narrative. But
it is, yeah.
I do think that there's certain things that, like one thing I've always kind of thought is like, I don't know, just like the whole idea of like knowing what you want to do, like as a 16-year-old kid. And some people do know that, by the way. I'm not saying, but I'm not that person.
Yeah, I wasn't that person either.
And like just being like, you know, like, yeah, I guess just like having that and just, yeah, I just have always kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of like mumbling a little bit now, but I guess just like I look at people who seem to be so sure of what they want to do, and I've never been like that, and I've always been maybe the same as you, where I'm like, oh, but I want to try this and I want to try that, and but then you kind of get to, we were kind of chatting about it earlier, like you get to our age where you know, like you're like, okay, I like kind of adventure at some point might need to take a sacrifice to a degree to get the other things in life that you want.
Yep.
And I think trying to find that balance, and again, you've no doubt you've kind of said that already with your work, like you kind of have to try and find that balance between like what you want and what you need.
Yeah.
No,
that's a good point.
But yeah, but look, I appreciate you chatting with me for so long.
This is great.
You know, this has only been like an hour and a half, but we've probably been chatting for like maybe
several
going
hours.
on 24 hours.
Yeah. No, it's been great, man.
But yeah, no, I appreciate it, because like honestly, I think like what you do is like super cool.
I appreciate it.
And you know, you're obviously like super humble and not
like that. No, I like what you're doing here.
No,
this is super cool. This is fun.